We are recording. Hi, I'm Sarah Shell, and this is my lesson on the flute for new beginner Emily Broderick. So the first thing you want to try before you even learn how to put the flute together is making a noise out of the flute. And you could try that. When you think about blowing into the flute, you want to start with a downward motion of your air, like as if you're blowing on a spoonful of hot soup. So that way you could get the air into the hole right here. And if you cover up the end here, you'll get a more steady pitch. And you'll rest it and manipulate your chin like this. So if you want to go ahead and give that a try. And then you can move it around a little bit and see if you can find any clearer tone. Your embouchure will be a little bit tight like this, but not quite smiling. More like a frowny, pouty look. Good job. Alright, so that's as much time as we're going to spend on that, and we're going to jump right into putting your flute together. Now the flute that I'm using for this is a more advanced flute, and that's why the holes, it has holes, but if you're a beginning flute, you want to get, if you're going to buy a flute, you want to make sure that you get one where the holes are plugged or it has keys that don't have holes in it. So the first thing you're going to start with is adding the head joint to the body, and you'll hold it by the barrel so that you don't damage any of the keys, and insert it most of the way into the barrel. Leave a little bit out for tuning. So you want to go ahead and try that yourself. And you'll be lining up the embouchure hole with this key right here. Good job. And then next you'll continue to hold it by the barrel while you add the foot joint. And for this one, since your pinky won't line up with the rest of your fingers, you'll be lining up the rod here with the last key. Like that. Try it yourself. It's a good flute. Give it a twist, it'll go on easy. Perfect. Alright, so the next thing that you want to do is hold your flute properly so that you can get a good sound. So you'll start with your left hand on these keys, and then your right hand will reach these keys, but from the opposite way like this. And you'll line up your fingers on the second key here and the fourth key up there. The second key, and this one's on the fourth key. And then that one, see how it's curved to match your fingers. And your thumb will go on this key usually. And then for this hand, we'll put the 3 on the 3 with the holes here. 1, 2, 3. And then your pinky will rest on this key. And go ahead and line it up with your mouth. And I'll make any correction. That's good. And see how your flute is parallel with the floor? That's the optimum. If you start getting tired, it usually starts falling towards the floor. So you want to try to avoid that because it could cause your neck to get sore and also can affect your breathing. So, for when you're holding it up, there's one thing that you want to be aware of is your balance points, because if you're not using them correctly, it can cause you to not be able to use all your fingers properly. So your 4 main balance points, the first one's pretty obvious, is your thumb right here. The second balance point that is usually on the key is your pinky on this key right here. The next one that is pretty obvious is, of course, the side of your finger, how it's holding right here. And then the last one is your embouchure. So you're going to rest it on your chin, that way the weight is being balanced. So now that you got that, I think I'm going to move on to your first note. So the first note you want to try has a limited number of fingers. So you could get out, here's the fingering chart that we could use as a guideline. And we'll start with this note right here, C. So you have this index finger and your pinky, and lift everything else off. Good job. And since the flute is a piano instrument, it should match C on the piano. Concert pitch instrument. Yeah, it matched. Good job. Okay, so in order to keep your tone clear, which you're already doing a pretty good job on since you were learning the saxophone, make sure you're sitting straight up, which you are already. On the edge of your chair helps to keep you straight, so you don't like start slouching. And make sure that you're breathing deep and that your diaphragm is expanding as you breathe. So only half of your air is actually going into the flute because this metal plate is splitting the air right here, so that's why it takes a lot more air to get a sound on the flute. Other than that, your breathing and posture seem fine, so I don't think we really have to go over any more of that. When you make each note, the tonguing that you're going to use is a do syllable. So try doing the C and then separating it into two notes. Do, do. So now let's move on to learning a few more notes so that you can start the C scale. So this is your first one, C, and then we're going to move on to D, which is everything but the two fingers that you just used. This is what they call kind of the break, because you're switching from a couple fingers to a whole bunch. So C, get your fingers lined up. Here's a note to go off. Oh. Let me see. Let me double check your finger.
Okay, one.
Yeah. Good job.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's fine. So do you think you could try moving from the C to the D? It's a little bit easier to get the D when your mouth's already set, actually.
Kind of hard.
You got the fingering switch right. Make sure this one was off.
Oh.
It's a little tricky with this open hole flute because you have to have it right in the center of each hole. Good job. Okay, I'm going to teach you a few more notes so you can try Mary Had a Little Lamb. So let's go on to E, and we'll do a modified version so you could play it with only 3 notes. So your E is very similar to your D, except for you switch this last one for the pinky, and then you add your index finger on this hand. Let me play it for you.
Do I want it to be higher?
Yeah, you want to try to get the higher one. Yeah, you're getting it a little bit too high. Okay, that's perfect. So what you're trying to focus right there is to be able to direct the pitch without overblowing. Because if you overblow, then you're going to get the octave above it. And also,